Hello and welcome to the Isle of Man Motor Museum at Derby in the north of the island. We're very lucky at Duke Video to have been invited by the director of the museum, Darren Cunningham, to come for a whistle-stop tour of some of the highlights of the bikes and cars that they have at the museum here. They have roughly 200 cars and up to 300 motorcycles, and they have a wonderful workshop at the back of the facility as well. And I'm going to hand over to Darren, who's hopefully going to give us a bit of an insight about the history of the museum and what we're going to see today. So let's go for it, Darren.
Okay, well, welcome to the museum, first of all. It's great to have you all up here. So the core of our museum was our family collection of cars. So we decided we wanted to share them with everyone, and we opened them. 2015 we opened to the public here, and since then the museum has just grown and grown and grown. Thankfully, huge support from local enthusiasts, so we get lots of things in on loan, and you come back next year and you'll be seeing something different. But I really think that the easiest way to sort of show you what we have here is to just go for a wander around. Yeah, and we're really excited, and I'm sure our viewers at Duke Video are too. They love a bit of nostalgia, so yeah, let's go and have a look at what we've got. First of all, we'll have a look over at some of our Ferraris here. We're fortunate enough to have 3 in the collection permanently. It's a 612 Scaglietti, 456 GT and a 400i. We like these because they're all front engine V12 manual Ferraris. In my mind, Ferraris are Grand Tourers, not sports cars. It's not what most people think, but that's what I've always thought. So I like the idea of, using them, taking them out and about. The 612, for example, has got over 90,000 miles on the clock. It is a well-used car. The 456 is a car that was my sort of generation of Ferrari, mid-90s growing up. I remember seeing these. They were just the one that really resonated with me. So that's why it became sort of a core feature of the collection, is these 3 Ferraris in particular. And then we're fortunate as well, we've got a red Italian window going on at the moment. We mix up our window displays every year. This year's red Italian, so we're featuring a Fiat Abarth Ferrari Tribute, a few Ducatis, and then a very special Autex Zagato Stelvio, which is actually a custom-bodied Nissan Leopard that Zagato did in Italy. Only about 80, 100 were built, something like on that order, and we're very happy to have one in the collection. The Autex Zagato was, let's say some people think it's got very challenging styling. So it's got these wing mirrors that are integrated into the bonnet, which actually means they're terrible. You can't see anything out of them. Really unusual sort of wheels with these built-in air intakes for the brakes. But it's actually a very fun car. It's effectively a 300ZX single turbo is what's underneath it. So it's got enough oomph to get itself out of its own way. Quite dramatically at times, in fact. But no, it's really here as an example of one of the last sort of very coach-built cars. It doesn't happen in this way quite as much anymore. This was early 90s when Zagato had, the Alpha RZ and SZ were similar sort of designs to this, and yeah, Zagato were. They were just kind of doing their own thing. And it's also got the iconic Zagato double bubble on the roof, which is from their racing heritage.
And that was in order for the driver's helmets to fit under the roof, is that right?
Exactly, yeah.
So it's kind of a unique blend of Italian flair and Japanese reliability, would you say?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to actually put it. Yeah, definitely the Italian flair to it. And there are some quirky little features on it that you wouldn't see Nissan signing off on their own, I don't think. Yeah. In general, there's very few sort of coach-built Japanese cars. When you think of sort of the heritage of Japanese cars, the coach building wasn't a strong element of it, whereas this was just, Nissan kind of letting loose a little bit and doing it via Autex, but still it's just an unusual thing to consider such a large company deciding to do.
And sticking with the red theme, we've got this car, which is an Abarth Ferrari collaboration.
It's very, some people might think, oh, someone's put Ferrari badges all over their Fiat 500, but no, it is a tribute edition, that is a Tributo edition, that is 695 Abarth. Ferrari badging on the sides, on the wheels, and on the rear of the car. Very, very special car. This one's in on quite a short-term loan, actually. So it just came in to feature specifically in this display for this year.
And it was available in 4 colours. I believe there was a blue, yellow, like a Grigio titanium.
Right.
And this is the famous.
Yeah, this is kind of the iconic. Yeah.
So where are we off to next then, Darren?
So I think we'll get out of the window here, and we might have a look at some of the sort of early technical cars that we've got, and the sort of things that the cars that pioneered certain things, let's say. We're over here now beside our Aston Martin Lagonda, sort of an iconic wedged piece of design from the 80s here. One of the cars that had the first ever sort of digital dashboard and sort of touchscreen buttons, very, very finicky in how it works, but thankfully this one is mostly functional. Not all of them are. We've had this as part of our collection for a long time now. One of the weird quirks of it having a digital dash is there was still a requirement to have a mechanical odometer at this point. So if you open the bonnet, you can actually see the miles it's done on a little odometer under the bonnet.
Yeah, and at the time the CRT display on the vehicle was cutting edge, and it was just like, as you can see, a complete sea of touch sensitive buttons, digital readouts.
Exactly.
And it looks like a spacecraft.
It really does.
In 1981, that would have been.
It looks like something out of a sci-fi movie. It's far more that sort of influenced in its design than anything else. Over the years, because it was finicky, they did sort of go to more, let's say, normal controls, but this one is an earlier one. They also rounded out some of the design language as well, got rid of the sharper edges, but this is the sort of the original William Townes design.
So we're here at a very influential car that has a direct link to Gordon Murray.
That's it, yeah, this is our Toyota Sierra, early 90s Japanese little sports car. It's quite a fun little thing to drive, but it is now far more well known for being the source for the design for the doors for the McLaren F1, which is an absolute icon. And there are these butterfly doors that open like this. This car was one of the first ones ever to do this. Gordon sort of saw it, decided he really enjoyed it and liked its design language, and implemented it on the McLaren F1. And now everyone thinks of them as McLaren F1 doors, but in reality, they came from the Sierra.
And it's got the all glass canopy as well.
It does, yeah. And you've got little panels that you can add in there for, sun protection and so on. But it's a fun little car to drive. It's an automatic. It's a 1.3. It's not the quickest thing, but it's a nice car. It's far better a sports car than you actually think it could be, given those specs.
Yeah, it was 104 horsepower. It wasn't built for power, was it?
No,
really?
Absolutely not. But it just handles nicely. It drives nicely. It's just it's quite discreet as a car until you park up and get out of it, and then people start looking at what's going on over there.
Does this have the Super Live sound system?
This has had a sound system that's been changed and swapped around and bits added and removed all over the years. That's probably the one, let's say, bad thing about this particular one, is that has been changed a lot.
Right, yeah, because that was like a 10 speaker system.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
There was like an option on the car at the time.
Yeah, when you're thinking sort of late 80s, early 90s, Japanese audio was very good.
Yeah, it was cutting edge. It always has
Exactly.
been at the sharp end.
Yeah.
So now we're looking at a car that's possibly the most iconic car of the 1980s, Darren.
Yeah, this is our 1982 DeLorean DMC-12. Most well known as, quote, the Back to the Future car. Our one in particular here is quite unusual. It's a right-hand drive prototype. They only built maybe 20 of those. Unfortunately, DeLorean got into some financial issues and other issues, we'll say, and the company ended up folding before they got into European production. This car has been part of our collection for 20 plus years at this stage now, and it's one of the most fun cars to have, because you take it out, everyone knows it, everyone wants to see it, everyone comes and talks to you, and that's why I'm a car enthusiast. I like sharing these with people, and I've talking to people about this car, and it is it's fun. It's just a fun car. This one actually handles better than some of them do, because they don't have the best reputation as a sports car. Because this was the right-hand drive prototype spec, it has less emissions equipment on it, slightly different suspension setup, so it's just a little bit more fun than the production car was.
And this one has the original engine, the 2.85.
That's it,
PLV.
yeah. It's the Peugeot Renault Volvo V6 running this, which is probably, honestly, it's the weakest point of the car. All of the other engineering work was done by Lotus, so it's got really good handling. It is clad in stainless steel, famously, which you know, you can clean it with, you know, Mr. Sheen or something like that. It's kind of practical, but it's that added a lot of weight to the car, and again, that was some of its performance issues caused by that.
And there were only limited interior options and things on these, wasn't there? It was literally two colours, and
you basically had black or grey, and yeah, this one's got a black interior. Again, I've seen prototypes of other colours because they were just about to start introducing these, but again, the company folded, and that never happened, unfortunately. It turned out, I think he was at the end, he was a desperate guy who was just trying to keep his company going, and it was his name on the door, so he was very proud of it. We're just coming up to our 1994 Cadillac Fleetwood Hearse. It's a Japanese temple-style hearse. As you can see, it's sort of covered in gold, covered in dragons. It's
very understated.
Very much so. And you know, if you're going to go out in style. I think this is kind of what I think. But yeah, this is. It's not the most common style of hearse in Japan, but it is a style that is relatively common. This one in particular. We had been on the lookout for one of these types of hearses for a long time, and we were hitting some sort of cultural barriers in where people didn't actually want them to be sold outside of Japan. So we actually had to spend many years searching for this, and we had some other requirements. We wanted it on a Cadillac chassis rather than the more common Toyotas. But we managed to get it a couple of years ago, and it's now part of our. We have a real strong Cadillac collection, as well as a professional vehicles, which is hearses, ambulances, limousines, flower cars. So it kind of fits into our collection in multiple ways.
And this is gold leaf on the outside. Is it carved wood?
Yeah, so it's a mix. So because these are they're not quite production, but they're low volume. So certain parts of it are actually almost just like bolt on. They're sort of cast fiberglass or cast resin, and then gold leafed. And you can see on some of the elements are just sort of little panel here that is just screwed onto the side, so they could pick and mix what they needed on the car in terms of how ostentatious it would be. It is the only car that when I've driven, someone has fallen over when they tried to look at it. They managed to spin themselves around and trip over their own feet. When I take it out normally, which isn't that often because it's unwieldy, and the wings do actually kind of cause it to move around
Not so
a
good
little
for
bit.
downforce.
Well, yeah, it's great here on the TT course. Yeah. It's just what you need.
You don't want to take it down Bray Hill. Though.
Well, you can take it down. It's more the twisty bits that it gets a bit challenging, and we tend to take these little bells off as well because it gets a bit boring hearing them ringing for miles and miles on end. And
they're very ornate inside, I believe.
Yes,
is that correct?
yeah. Yeah, it's also carved inside. We currently have the batteries out when we display a vehicle, so that would all light up though as well, and it's a real statement piece, you know. So we're here with our Suzuki Cappuccino and our Dodge Viper. Two very different cars in many ways, but also quite similar. The Cappuccino is sometimes referred to as a mini Viper. And when we've got them both in red here and you see the hard top sort of roll bar, you can see why people did think that. The Cappuccino is what's known as a K car. It was a very specific type of car in Japan, taxation class, and it required certain sizes and engine sizes. So this is about 600cc motor in this, which is actually a smaller than any individual cylinder in the Viper, which is an 8-litre V10. So the Cappuccino here is actually really good fun to drive. It's you work that engine hard. It's a buzzy little car. It handles nicely. The Viper, on the other hand, is a bit more brutal. If you push it too hard and you get it wrong, it will bite you. It's sort of one of the last real muscle cars. There's no kind of electronic safety controls on it. It's just a massive engine, some big sticky rear tires, which there's more rubber on the back axle of this than on the entire Cappuccino as well. And you can have fun in it, but to a limit, and then it will
bites.
get you. It bites.
Yeah.
It really does. I've said it a couple of times, but this car is actually the first year of Viper production. It's in 1992. It was retained by Chrysler for a while. They'd shipped it to Madrid in Spain to become like a halo car in their showrooms there and get people in to buy, let's say, a more run-of-the-mill car. Came came to the UK, I think 2018-ish, and we got it at the museum a couple of years ago, and it's we always wanted the first year. There's lots of little features that are different to the later production cars, but it's an important part of American car heritage now.
And the car you're stood next to on the other side is what was dubbed as the Italian Rolls Royce at the time.
Yeah, this is a Lamborghini Espada. It's a stunning car, this one. It's we're fortunate this is coming on loan only a couple of months ago now. It's this was effectively Lamborghini entering into that Grand Tourer market, you know, keeping the four-seater, big engine again at the front, unlike, you know, the Miura and the sort of more supercars that they were more well known for. This particular one was actually Rod Stewart's when new. And the story is that he had gone in to get a Miura and it wasn't ready, so he bought this instead, or as well. And yeah, it's an iconic car of its time now. We have it actually here with our Murena, which is another very low volume Italian sports car. American Italian that, it has an American Ford engine. Only 10 Murenas were actually built. And when you look at them, you can see there's a similarity in the sort of design language, what they were trying to do here. The Espada was successful, the Murena wasn't.
Okay, we're now stood next to a car that at the time was dubbed by the UK government as an outrageous invitation for speed.
Yes, this is our Lotus Carlton. It's been part of the collection since we opened. It's on loan to us from a very kind enthusiast. Faster than a Ferrari Testarossa. These are a 180 mile an hour, four-door, four-seater saloon from the early 90s. Kind of crazy to think of Vauxhall, you know, far more well known for sort of, let's say, quite boring, quite staid cars, sort of to decide, yes, we're going to partner with Lotus, we're going to make this thing. And it has become an absolute icon over the years. Nicknamed an Autobahnstormer just because of the sheer speed it can do. It's quite a menacing looking car. It's in this unique tone of green called Imperial green. And yeah, it features at the moment in part of our green saloon area. We have a few other Autobahnstormers I think we're going to go and look at now. Yeah. And this is sometimes on display with those as well.
It really is the kind of the super sleeper really at the time.
Absolutely, very much like a Q car. People would not expect what this can do if they saw it coming up in their rearview mirror.
And it's just the giveaways with the wide arches and the 17-inch Ronald wheels. And
yes, yeah. If you know your cars, exactly. If you're an enthusiast, you spot little things. You spot that body kit. You spot the rear spoiler. There's lots of little hints, but it's still glance and you can very easily miss it. So we managed to find a couple of more Autobahnstormers within the museum. This is an E34 BMW M5 Touring. Slightly unusual in that it's right-hand drive, and BMW didn't actually make a right-hand drive M5 Touring. What this car is a 525 Touring that has had all the mechanical running gear and the interior of an M5 saloon transplanted into it. So it was done for the owner of a BMW parts specialist, and he just wanted an M5 Touring, simple as that, and he had the ability and the staff and the team to do it, so he made this one, and it runs and drives exactly as an M5 should. It is an amazing car for sort of crossing continents in. That's really what this one's for. It's very practical. And beside it here is this is a real test for if someone's a petrol head or not when they walk into the museum. A lot of people will look at this and say, why is there a Volkswagen Passat estate sitting in the museum? And the answer is very simply this little badge just on the front here. It's got the W8 engine. It's the only car ever with a W8 engine. It was effectively half of the engine from the Bugatti Veyron. That was the W16 quad turbo. This is, you know, just a very sort of undersells it. This is the simpler W8 engine. Very unsuccessful in many ways, because it's why people would want a 4-litre Passat. There wasn't the market for it. This one, we couldn't find one in the UK that was in good condition when we were looking. So this actually came in from Japan, hence the kind of square number plate and some other little tweaks on it. But again, like the M5, a car for sort of crossing continents in. So much power, so much torque. Very luxurious spec for a Passat as well. Full leather interior. And again, though, another very understated sort of sleeper car, really.
And it has there are the giveaways again with the 17-inch alloys, the quad exhausts.
Yeah, when this overtakes you and you see those exhausts, you realise there's something a bit special about this. We like our station wagons, hence the two of these here side by side, yeah. Yet another Autobahnstormer. This is the 2005 Alpina B7. Crazy car, looks like a normal 7 Series, but in reality it's another 200-mile-an-hour super saloon. This has been in our family since new. Part of the museum is that it is our family collection as well, and we enjoy sharing it. So it's parked here opposite my grandmother's car. This is my dad's mother's car, and she used this until she couldn't drive anymore. She was, I think, 90 or 91 when she finally gave up driving. And it's a BMW 520. Again, not a spectacular car, but very significant car for me and for our family to have it here as part of the collection.
So this car was one that was really misunderstood at the time of production. It's become a real collector's item.
Absolutely. This is our sort of early 2000s, the Renault Avantime. Yeah, the problem was people said, why would anyone spend £35,000 on a 2-door, 4-seater Renault that was really a 7-seater MPV in disguise? It meant that only about 400 of them were ever actually sold in the UK. They had a mix of engine options. This particular one is a 3-litre V6. It was the top of the line one. It is the manual transmission variant as well. We happen to have an automatic too. Built by Matra for Renault. They're a really fun car. When you look at the original concept for them, the concept car, it's one of the few concepts that has kind of developed straight into the production vehicle. It's got this wonderful open air mode. You can see all the windows are down at the moment and the sunroof's open.
Yeah, the grand air mode they called it.
Exactly, that was their marketing speak for it. But you activate it by literally just pressing one button, everything happens at once. It's and it really does feel like it is open air travel.
And the pillarless sides, it's just something, it looks so bizarre.
Exactly, yeah, so the huge opening space here. This particular one was my daily driver for a long time. I used this when I lived back in London, and it was, yeah, I enjoyed it. It was just quirky and fun. And one of the other things is because of the sheer size of it, the doors are really, really long, as you can see here. So they had to implement this really unusual double hinge system so that they could actually open in a reasonable space. You can see kind of it's fully open, it's very easy to get into, but it hasn't actually opened that wide, and there's a weird panel that kind of comes out of the side of the door to make that functionality work. But yeah, so that's the Renault Avantime. Very, very misunderstood, but it's definitely found its people.
It's found its people.
Exactly,
sure.
Yeah. And I'm one of them, to be fair.
We're now stood next to the extremely iconic and sought after French hot hatch.
Yeah, this is a Peugeot 205 GTI. This is the slightly later 1.9 litre model. This is owned by a private collector, and he's a real enthusiast about these cars. This was actually his daily driver until really quite recently. And unlike many of these sort of hot hatches, it hasn't been modified, with all sorts of stuff on it. He's lowered it slightly, but as far as I know, that's the only thing that isn't original on this. It's got the Speedline wheels that it had originally. Even just like the arch extensions are all just correct. Not being messed with, just an honest little car. And yeah, as you said, it's now an absolute icon. If you think 80s hot hatch, it's the 205 GTI or the Golf GTI. And
try and buy one at auction now in this condition.
They're so hard to find in this condition, full stop. And then if you can find one, yeah, prices have been skyrocketing recently. And we have it here on display with a slightly more basic car of the 80s, but this is a 1988 Volkswagen Polo. The kind of the bread van styling was what this one was known as. Very basic car. This is one of the most important cars in the collection though. This was my grandmother's car. She bought it new. It's been in the family forever. I remember being in it as a kid. So it's really nice just to have it here for visitors to enjoy, because I know my grandmother would be really happy to see it in here as well.
Yeah, it's a wonderful piece of nostalgia and close to your heart, so yeah.
Very much so, yes. So we're beside our 1954 Greyhound Scenicruiser coach. This is absolutely one of the stars of the collection here at the museum. There's very few of these buses survive full stop, and even fewer that are still in the original livery as a coach. A lot of them get converted to RVs and motorhomes and the like. This one remains a bus. When we bought this, I actually went over to America to collect it. I did about 3,000 miles on a sort of mini road trip in this, and the reaction it got in America was outstanding. Never mind once you bring it and put it, you know, on the Isle of Man, where it's not expected that you come to a museum here and you see one of these, but we're fortunate we have it. Yeah.
How many miles has this done then?
It's hard to tell, but we estimate between 5 and 7 million.
Incredible.
Yeah. It's got a Detroit diesel V8 two-stroke engine in it, which people tell me sounds amazing when it's driving. I'm always 40 foot away from it, so I've never heard it properly, but I'll trust them. It runs on air suspension. Now it's an automatic transmission. It's actually a very easy bus to drive, other than the sheer size of it, and less than great steering lock, we'll say.
So this is a split level configuration in this bus as well?
Yeah, so the reason they did that was to create the luggage bays, basically. So actually, it's quite unusual for this era. It doesn't have a traditional chassis construction. It's a monocoque construction, and it was designed basically by a lot of guys who were in the aerospace industry. They'd come out of the war, the Second World War, and when you look at it, it looks more aircraft-like than coach-like. Lots of rivets all over the place and so on. But it is a very practical bus in that way. They could even put a replacement engine in one of the luggage bays if they needed to move them between maintenance depots and so on. But yeah, it's a lovely bus to actually have here as part of the collection. When we've got volunteers on hand as well, we'll open it up and our visitors can come on board and have a good look around it. Take a step back 70 years.
So let's have a look at the interior and just have a chat through some of the quirks in there.
Let's get on board. Yeah. Okay, so here we are, we're on board the Greyhound now. This is the sort of the lower level. We've got the driver's seat just in front of me here, and unusually as well for this period, the Greyhound were experimenting with, you know, entertainment for passengers. Now you get on the plane or you get on something, you expect to have entertainment, you expect to have your TV in front of you. What they had at this point though was an individual radio for each seat. So there's little panels above all the seats. You plug in an old style sort of tubular headphones, and each passenger could control their own music for the trip. Didn't really last that long because the way it was implemented, they stick up into the luggage bays, so people put suitcases in and immediately broke them. But you know, a minor detail. Also slightly strange now from a modern perspective is there's smoke extractors for cigarette smoke throughout the bus, because that was just the way it was back then. Everyone would get on board and they'd be just smoking. It's also got a little toilet compartment just beside us here as well, and on the upper deck sort of behind us, it wasn't really sort of different classes of travel, but obviously if you're on the upper deck you're a bit further away from the road, a bit more comfortable. The seats at the top of the upper deck were sort of the prime seats, you know, the ones you get the best view, you can put your feet up and relax. We're just about to have a little nose around the workshop and see what we're up to at the moment. We work on our own vehicles only really in here, and just what we're prepping for display. This is a one-off car built in the late 1940s in LA. It's called the Hunt Special. It's in here because it's just we're filming this just after the Classic TT, and we've had this out and about for demonstrations when we had visitors up, and just having some fun with this car. So it's a real oddity. Rear wheel steer, which makes it sort of handle like a wayward shopping trolley, but a lot of fun. Just across there, the big green thing is an aircraft tug that came off one of the Royal Navy aircraft carriers, the Ark Royal. Was used to like tow Harriers around. You see, when you look at some of the Falklands era pictures, you see a lot of those on the flight deck there. Up on the ramp over here, we have Norman Wisdom's Rolls-Royce Silver Spirit. That is going across to the UK later this year for an event that we've been invited to. So we're just giving it a once over, a few little bits to be done on it. So that'll be back on the road very shortly. Then we have this BSA sidecar beside me here. This is just come back in to go on display again. It's lived on display here for a couple of years, but the owner he took it out because he was parading it as part of the Classic TT, the sidecar lap. So it was his dad's originally, and his dad had crashed it in the 60s. He managed to buy it back, restored it, and he finished his dad's lap, which was a lovely tribute, I thought. Other projects in the workshop include this flexible bus. Flexible spelled without an E. It was a trade name. They couldn't trademark the word flexible, so they shortened it. And this was used to do sightseeing tours up and down Pikes Peak in Colorado. So it's been a long-term project. We've got the guys here working on the windows. Graham's on the windows there. Ben's fitting them inside. We've got carpet going in. It's been repainted earlier this year. So lots of little bits still to do, but we're slowly but surely getting it all back together. But you know, we are active here in the workshop. We're always trying to get things done. The museum, you know, the team here is very, very important. All our volunteers, they make this place happen as much as everyone here. And we're very lucky to have a good team. And also, if anyone's interested in volunteering, give us a shout. We're always looking for more people as well. We're just going to have a quick look at some of our 50s and 60s American coupes, and we're starting here with our 1967 Imperial Mobile Director's Coupe. The Mobile Director was an option you could add onto the car, which gave this front seat spinning around, added a little fold-out table, and the idea was you could have a business meeting in your car as you were being driven along. Now, why they did that in a two-door coupe rather than a four-seater, you know, a four-door saloon or in one of their limousines, no idea. Wasn't a very successful option, which obviously means now it's incredibly rare to get one. We found this, we had to do a full restoration on this car. Took us a long time to find some of those really, you know, rare little bits that had gone missing over the years, but lovely car to have as part of the collection. Keeping with Imperials, this is our 1957 Imperial Southampton Coupe. This might actually be the best sounding car in the entire museum. This has got a 392 Chrysler firepower Hemi V8, and it's just the most perfect V8 you could imagine. It is a lovely, lovely car to drive, very much a cruiser, really 50s interior, sort of this turquoisey blue, and lots of sort of crown detailing and the moulding over the top of the roof, and the rear lights with these unusual rings around them. They were really still in that space age, jet age era of design, and Imperial was like a very high-end car. It would be competing with sort of your Rolls-Royce, your Bentley. That was where Chrysler were pitching it in their product lineup. So these are Mopar, part of Chrysler. This is another Mopar product. This is a Dodge La Femme. So this was an option available on the Dodge Lancer. And the La Femme was targeted to lady drivers. And it came with a raincoat, a cap and an umbrella for them, all colour matched to the interior. It wasn't very successful then. I can imagine if it was introduced now, it'd be even less successful. It ran for 2 years. This one's the second year of production, 1956. I've only actually ever seen one other 1956 in person. There's a few 1955s around, but very, very few. They didn't, again, another car, they didn't sell well when new, so they've become incredibly rare. You'll see on the back of the seats, the front seats, there's a little added compartment which is purely for the raincoat, the cap, the umbrella. And we're fortunate as well, we have those original accessories. They're all still in original packaging, so we've never taken them out, so I'll say they're in good condition and no one can prove me wrong.
I think that's what's so impressive about this collection is just so many of the original parts that are on these vehicles.
Well, that's so important. That's what tells the story of the vehicle and acts as a reference for you know, the future as well. This is what they were doing in the 50s. This was what they were trying to do in terms of the social side of it, of selling, you know, a car for lady drivers. It was, in some ways, it was quite progressive that they were targeting them. Now it seems such an archaic way of doing it, but you know, that was 70 odd years ago. So just different times, different ways of looking at it. But again, a lovely car. This one, I think was last out about 2 years ago. Yeah, as American cars go, it's quite compact. It's narrower than most of them. So it's actually a bit more practical to use on our smaller roads over here. Next in the lineup here is our 1962 Ford Thunderbird Coupe. Really lovely car, really nice car to drive as well, just very much a tourer, you know, you're not throwing it round corners or anything like that, but it's a pleasant, lazy type of drive. One of the fun features on this is the steering wheel. At the moment you'll see it's pushed right into the centre of the car, and this was so that you could have that little bit more room to get in and out when you needed to. You'd hop in and then you'd just grab the steering wheel and you'd pull it to the side back into position. Once you've actually got used to a car with that, you kind of wish every single car had it. You know, it's just it's a nice comfort feature. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this is this Thunderbird was in production for 61, 2, 3. It was a few years. This kind of cigar type styling to it. Again, very much of that early 60s, beginning to kind of come out of the
square bird.
Yeah, square bird was that sort of era. But this was a little bit less ostentatious. They'd moved away from sort of the rocket designs. It still had the fins and everything, but not quite as over the top as some cars of the era were. We'll move on to one of the stars here as well. This is our Cadillac V16, 1936. Very few V16 cars ever made. This was the most successful, probably. About 3,000 of them were built. They came out in 1930. That first year of production, about 1,000 made, but then the Great Depression was hitting. By 1936, they were only making 50 of these a year. And this is one of them. We've had this out. We have it running. We sometimes do an event where we'll run everything from a single cylinder up to the 16 cylinder, have them all running at the same time. It's a lot of work, but a lot of fun to be able to do it. This is basically the production limousine body. You could specify coach-built bodies as well, but this was one of the standard off the shelf, so to speak, ones. And parked beside it here is our 1935 Daimler 66. This was one of only 4 built on this particular type of chassis. One of the others went to the Spanish member of the Spanish nobility, and the 2 others were the state jubilee cars for King George and Queen Mary for 1935-36. This car was built as an invalids limousine, so there's a stretcher in the back, there's a fold-out attendant's chair. The door on the rear on this side is entirely fake. It was designed to give a lot of privacy to the occupant of the car. It was shown at the 1936 Olympia Motor Show as if it had been built on spec. Now, King George had died shortly before that, so it's believed that this car was actually built for him, but that he never took delivery of it because he'd passed away. But a very, very unusual car, a very special car. We're very, very fortunate to have it in the collection. You can see it's in a semi-derelict state. We're preserving it as is.
Patina.
Yeah. When you look inside, you'll see the fold-down curtains, the veneer, everything is still there. It's all complete, just very fragile now at this stage. That's what we're all about, is telling the stories of the cars. The number of times I'll walk around here, okay, maybe not for this, but beside the 205, they'll say, oh, I remember someone down the road used to have one, or remember that one we used to see on the way to school. And bringing those memories out is just so important. It brings so much joy to people sharing that, and it brings joy to us hearing it. It's the very fun side of this whole thing.
So now we have a rare custom-built extended length limousine, and try parking this in Tesco's car park and see how you get on.
Well, try parking this anywhere is quite the challenge. This is our Oldsmobile Toronado Jetway 707 by American Quality Coachworks. 28 foot long, so longer than a Routemaster bus. Front wheel drive. It was originally a 2-door coupe, and it was built into this sort of multi-door, multi-seat vehicle, and they were used for airport transfers, effectively, a minibus of its day. Quite unwieldy to drive. An absolute showstopper on the road. People can't really believe what they're seeing. We were on the lookout for one of these for a very long time. They didn't build many. I've heard as few as 10, as many as 150. I think it's probably more like 20 to 50 is the ballpark. This particular one was in the UK already, bizarrely, so we were very pleased about that. We'd kept seeing the same 2 for sale in America, complete wrecks, and it was clearly people buying them, realising how big a project they were, and then giving up and moving on. We bought this as is. It is in a nice used condition, and that's how we're keeping it. And it runs and drives really quite nicely.
And it can take up to 15 passengers or so?
Yeah, it could take more than the number of seats in it at the moment, but it comes down to what driving licence you've got at that stage. whether
Yeah.
it's a minibus or a bus. So I think at the moment it's set up as a 15-seater.
And it kind of made sense with the front wheel drive for obviously the floor pan, so it's just perfectly
exactly.
flat.
It made
Luggage
the whole
and passengers.
the conversion work easier in that they didn't have to deal with the prop shaft. It was flat floored inside. The only downside is you do have a lot of weight at the back, so you're kind of lifting the nose a little bit more than you'd really like. But it's it's a massive engine, 455 cubic inch V8, so 7-8 litres. It's a big old thing, yeah. And it's here on display as part of our multi-door and our limousine collection. So this is one of our other limousines. This is a 1965 Lincoln Continental by Lehman Peterson. You'll see it's got the flags on it. This was the car used by Robert McNamara when he was the Secretary of Defence in the mid-60s, and quite a nice tie-in was prior to him being Secretary of Defence, he was actually a senior executive at Ford Motor Company, and he signed off on the production of this design of this design of Lincoln. If he hadn't signed off on that design, Lincoln was going to be closed down. So it's a car that kind of ties into him in two very different ways, both important. And then we have a number of other cars. We've got a factory prototype Ford Galaxy limousine, a Ghia-built Imperial, and a couple of Cadillacs behind there. This is our Mercedes 600 from 1965, also known as the Grosser 600. It's a very big, very imposing car, typically seen in its extended wheelbase Pullman form, and usually it would have a dictator sitting in the back of it. I think every bad dictator in history, unfortunately, has been photoed inside a 600. Very advanced for its time, hydraulic everything, hydraulic soft closed doors, hydraulic door locks, hydraulic seats, hydraulic boot and opening and closing. Does mean it's the only car we've ever had an oil leak on in the doors, which is one of those things you just learn to deal with. We had this out earlier this year. It is an absolutely lovely car to drive. Very imposing, massive radiator grille on the front. Also quite good fun, it's got town and country horns. So if you're in town you can have a little beep, but if you switch it into country mode it sounds like a foghorn going off. It's just a really odd feature on it, but I absolutely love this car. So we're now in the aquatic section of the museum. We have a couple of amphibious cars, jet skis, a hovercraft behind me here. The one we're looking at in particular there is this Amphicar Model 770. So called that because it could do 7 knots on water, 70 miles an hour on land. Some people say it's the best of both worlds, a car and a boat. Some people say it's the worst of both worlds. Not a very good car, not a very good boat. It's a really unusual one, this one, in that it's a right-hand drive model. Most of them were left-hand drive. Built in Germany, uses Triumph Herald running gear. Quite a fun car to have, though. We haven't yet braved taking it in the water, though, I have to admit that.
Lots of people think that electric cars are something new, but that's certainly not the case, is it, Darren?
No, we're here beside the oldest car in the museum, which is this Columbia that dates from the early 1900s, and this is an electric car. 48 volts, 2 batteries at the front, 2 batteries at the rear. It does about 15 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour if you're lucky, and has about 35-40 mile range. Quite unusually as well, it's a tiller steer vehicle, so you've got a lever you push-pull rather than the steering wheel. But what's really interesting as well is when you read about this car and you read the period sort of road tests on it, you could cross out Columbia and just write Nissan Leaf. It was exactly the same concerns. What's the range? How long does the battery last? How long does it take to charge? So even though we're sort of 120 years on from this car and lots has changed, some things stay the same. We were just looking at our Columbia Electric from the early 1900s. That was the best-selling electric car in America for decades until the mid-70s when this came out. This is a Sebring Vanguard city car, really 70s looking with the wedge shape and the whole vibe of it screams 1970s. This particular one was owned by Hagen Battery. They use it as kind of a prototype test vehicle in Germany, and we got it to the museum from Holland actually a few years ago. And it's sitting here in our little microcar display, and we also have another electric car. This is a Zagato Zelle 1000 from the 1970s as well. Built in Italy. It uses some Fiat 500 subframes and running gear and bits and pieces. even though it's this small, it is actually a 4-seater vehicle, and we've had 4 people in it, out and about, and it'll do 20, 22 miles an hour quite happily. I'm not sure the backseat passengers were that happy being in it at that speed, but it's a fun little car to have. This is our Peel P50, possibly the most iconic microcar ever made. Many people recognise these from Top Gear, Jeremy Clarkson driving one of these around the BBC television centre. But more importantly than that, they were made here on the Isle of Man, down in Peel. This one's one of about 27-ish survivors, and it was and remains the smallest production car ever made. Next to it here we have its ever so slightly bigger brother. This is a Peel Trident. Same engine, same sort of basic chassis design, but actually a much better handling car and a 2-seater. Slightly more practical therefore, but sort of Jetsons-esque design with this big bubble top, and to get in, the whole front and the roof all hinges forward. So you might think these are BMW Izettas, but they're not. This is a Heinkel cabine, and beside it is a Trojan. Now the Trojan and the Heinkel look very, very similar, and that's because the Trojan was a license-built version of the Heinkel. So Heinkel is a left-hand drive one, and the Trojan being a right-hand drive one. It's really interesting to see how similar there are, but also some of those tiny little differences caused by that licensing process. This is the Messerschmitt KR200, one of the more iconic sort of microcars ever made. 1+1 seating. Messerschmitt obviously far more well known for their aircraft than their cars, so the steering wheel isn't a wheel, it's more like just a yoke from an aircraft. This bubble top is hinged at the side, so the whole thing opens up so you can get into it fairly easily. We're here beside our Sunbeam Talbot 90 Cutaway. This was built for the 1948 Earls Court Motor Show, and it's really good in terms of being able to show our visitors how a car actually works. Every component is cut away. You can see exactly the internals of the engine, the internals of the gearbox, how a differential works. Because we're car enthusiasts here, but we want people to understand that passion, to keep restoring cars, keep classic cars going, and you need to have that technical knowledge as well. So this is a great way of showing that, and it's part of our cutaway model collection here at the museum.
Thank you so much, Darren, for showing us around this wonderful museum today. We've covered such a broad mixture of cars and of all different brands and niches, and we've also noticed some really nice motorcycles, so hopefully in a future episode we'll be coming back and exploring some of those too.
You're definitely welcome. Come back and explore what else we've got here. We like you say, we focused a lot on the cars today, but we've got 350 bikes in the museum. And if anyone's watching, if you want to come along and visit the museum, it'd be lovely to see you here. Duke Travel do a great package. It's a tour of the TT course and a visit to the museum as well.
If you'd like to book your tour of the museum and of the TT course, then visit duketravel.com, who are our partners, and look out on the channel for our bike tour coming soon as well.